Why we having? Yeah, you hear me? Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. All right, we on. All right,
Yeah,
all right. Oh, this song better.
sounds better.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
All right. So we'll do this.
I'm nervous. Why can't I see you though?
You can see me. No, just now. You can see me just now.
Okay.
Um.
Um, all right, let me drink some tea.
It just went silent again. I don't know what. Oh, okay. I don't know what happened there.
Wait, you're hearing me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Oh, okay, good.
All right. It's fourish.
So you have all your questions ready and stuff?
It's
Now, look at how times has changed, eh? Look at.
look who interviewed who.
I know! Look at how the tables have turned.
You see me now, right?
Yes, I am seeing you. Oh,
Oh,
we're doing microphones. I have a microphone as well. Let me display
no, no. But once you hear me, it's fine.
so I can look more professional.
Ah. So what's up?
Oh, nothing much. Um, a day. Oh, let me open up this. I had to restart the computer. I had the poem that I wanted to read open. So let me reopen it.
Cockcrowing.
Yes,
Things
country
are
life.
things are things are alive and well in Labre.
Country life.
Oh, Christine,
Oh, let me
Joanna, Leslie, and Christine. My-
who is on YouTube.
A little feedback from me. All right. I don't know why.
I think I should be able to share the link on. I sent it to Auntie Jean's WhatsApp. Okay. Ooh.
Yeah. You hear me?
Yes, you got a little softer. I don't know if.
So, all right.
All right, you're back. You're back good now.
Slight echo from me. I don't know why that's happening. Um, Hello.
Yo.
Okay. Uh, I'm echoing. Why the hell am I echoing? All right. I'm gonna change. Remove this mic. So, good evening.
Good afternoon.
Yeah. Better.
Yeah, that's better.
Okay. And they try to get all fancy with my content, right? So yeah, Zara Gordon. We've known each other since 20,
2013.
2013.
Mm-hmm.
So the tables have turned
Yeah.
somewhat. For nobody who don't know, Lara was Zara was the first person to interview me for my first newspaper article in the Guardian. That was pre-release of the album. I'm thinking, and you know, so we here now. I'm kind of having a conversation with Zara. So you want to start with the reading the piece first, now, or introducing yourself first.
Oh,
Introduce
okay.
yourself first. Who is Zara Gordon? And don't give me
Okay.
the textbook answer. Give me the
Yes, we came for the backs. Backs.
yeah. Give me the
Um,
bacchanal.
yeah, no, who am I? I'm a writer, I'm a poet, I'm an educator. Uh, those are the things that I guess are my biggest identifiers. So those are things that I found passion in and pursue. So I think if I had to describe myself in another way, I would definitely say that I'm someone who pursues passions.
Okay. That was the answer. That was it.
Yeah, that
Pursuing
was it.
passions.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. So he's a poet, educator, and you know, person who pursuing her passion.
Yeah.
So, what age did you decide not just to write, but to pursue a passion of writing?
Okay. I've always um I've always enjoyed reading literature, writing from a very young age. And I think the point when I took it seriously was in high school. So I was about maybe 14 when I got my first opportunity, which was this program called Alton Block.
Mm-hmm.
And well, I'm guessing most of your listeners are from Trinidad. So Arts on the Block was a program. Well, I was based in the States at the time. And Arts on the Block was a youth
Now remind me again, what age was that?
14.
Mm.
I've always been writing. When I was in primary school, I used to write songs, um, short stories, read a lot. Oh, I used to write prayers with my grandmother as well. So, it's always been a big part of my life. Literature has always been a big part of my life. But it was at 14 that I really decided this is what I want to do.
Okay. Um. Now people sitting here, now, so it's going audio going in and out. I don't know.
What about now? Is it good?
Yeah, it sounds good to me on my end.
Okay.
Okay, but what people said it.
Says, are you hearing me?
They're not hearing you. I'm hearing you. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, but people are saying they can't hear me.
Okay.
I didn't touch anything. You're still hearing me, Jojo?
I am hearing you, but people are not hearing you.
Okay. I guess I can try to speak more into the mic.
Um, anyway, we apologize for the technical difficulties. Um, but we try and sort it out, and then we'll because it's coming in and out just now. I don't know what happened. Um,
I'm not sure what the problem is.
um, so we're back in like in about 5 minutes. Just hold on. Um,
Check the audio.
Zara, if you could switch to the phone, at least. Um, hello.
Hey, I don't know. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, hearing you. I think is it people hearing you. Um,
I don't know. I don't think that's me because all my systems are giving green lights.
all right. So
So I'm
the
not sure. But you're hearing me, right?
I'm hearing you.
And it's not, there's no feedback.
No, I'm hearing you.
Okay. Well, then I
people are hearing. Um, all right, here we go.
I also can't see the comments. Do I need to open up my Facebook?
Uh, yeah, most likely that too. And, so, um, comments on that. If you're hearing us.
Hi guys.
Okay, tested this. So yeah. Anyway, yeah. Whatever it is you're touching there. Um,
Are you hearing me?
yeah, I'm hearing you. Okay, whatever it is you touch there.
That was weird. Okay. Are people hearing now?
You're low. Now this is the face. This is the face that. All right, they hear me clean, no echo. You're kind of slow. Can you just like switch to the phone or something? Let me try the phone and see if it will work.
Okay.
All right, let's disconnect and try the phone. So yeah, good evening, people. It is I, Declare. Um, so with these things is always technical difficulties, and for the life of me, I've tested this thing yesterday, and I'm testing it now. I tested it before, and everything was working fine. Um, so we are the mercy of either digital or the computer. Um, I guess that's why you know s- they pay technical people the big bucks. Um, but I hope you all are enjoying your Wednesday evening. Um, so those who missed last week, we had technical difficulties last week too via Instagram. Um, but we'll sort it out and we'll get there. So last week we had Annalise Prime on, and it was a good interview. Uh, we had some technical difficulties, as I said. And next week, um, I'm gonna have on Aidan Hagley, uh, local jazz keyboardist or pianist. I don't know um, how what is the words they use if people say pianist or keyboardist. Um, so Zara is back. So let's see if the phone works. And yeah, much better.
So you're hearing me?
Yeah, much better.
Okay.
Much better.
See, and you said that phone streams were shaky.
Yeah, well, I've used phone stream before on StreamYard and it was shaky. So we're here now. Uh, let's see who on. We have 5 people on via Facebook. All right, so yeah, we are back, and there you go again. Sometimes these days it's called farm mother contenting, Excuse the language. Oh, I swear. Sometimes these days it's called for it, but
I'm seeing you. Are you hearing me?
I'm hearing you, but your vision a little blurry.
I'm I put
Yeah, that's why. Oh God.
yeah.
All right.
Hmm.
So now that I've already cussed, um, yeah, stick, yeah, freeze.
I don't know.
So check your connection. Oh, the internet gods are fucking with me. She's gone again. Oh, how could it be? I don't know where she gone again. Here we are again. You hear me now?
I've been hearing you all the time.
Alright. Oh, Sam, easy vibes. So yeah, you wanna do this now? You ready?
We can try.
Alright. Um, so we at age 14 you started writing.
Yeah.
Um, you know. So what encourage you what encouraging you to, to be to have this love affair with books and reading and writing and stories? What encouraged you?
Well, I think it's just having the exposure to it. So I grew up in a family where there was a love for literature and it was shared with me, and I continued being exposed to things. So even in middle school and high school, we would have visiting writers in English class and things like that that help to further expose me. So it's really just the exposure to it and realizing that I have a talent and a love for it.
What was the first book that made you fall in love like with literature and was the first book that you say, okay, shit,
The
this is
first
all.
book.
Hmm.
You mean like as a child or as
No,
or
the first
older?
book that make you okay decide, okay, this is it. I want to follow this person or this book. I want to write a book just like this.
Hmm.
Was it first book?
Well, I would
Or,
say having inspiration saying I want to write a book just like this would
mm-hmm,
have to be Black Swan by Lyra Van Cleef Stefano.
that's a lot.
And yeah, she have name. She have real name.
Mm-hmm.
Lyra Van Cleef Stefano. You should check her out. She's amazing. And that's the first poetry series that poetry volume that I read where I really was like, yes, I want to write something like this.
All right.
Uh, yeah.
Was she an Afro American writer or
Yes, she is African American as well.
so you always has been inspired by black art per se?
Yeah, big time.
Okay.
Big time. I think it's the beauty of finding things that you can relate to, you know?
Uh, all right. So, like, who's your favorite writer at this point? Your favorite author, poet, that kind of vibes.
Well, definitely Lyra is on the list.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always going back to Lucille Clifton. Um, who else? Boy, oh, James Baldwin.
Oh, I was going to ask you that question. That was kind of one of the next questions I was going to ask. So, what do you think about when you hear the word James Baldwin? Like I watched the
Oh Lord,
documentary. I watched the documentary. I'm Not Your
I am not
Negro.
here to grow.
Last week. So what about James Baldwin? When I hear that name, what do you hear? What do you think when you hear about James Baldwin?
When I think of James Baldwin, it's like I think about Black excellence, but I also think about just annihilating the idea of Black excellence at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So James Baldwin for me definitely was excellent, but I definitely think he wouldn't have, this hashtag like Black excellence. He wouldn't have
Mm-hmm.
put himself in that box. As
No,
I don't think so. Um,
he was a M boy, you know, like you such there's a way he used to say things that will even shut up like he would not be a fan of the Hotep movement, that kind of way.
no, no.
Like he was an
Like,
idiot. And he was intelligent. I think
mhm.
he was way more intelligent than a lot of his peers, and
I
at
think
least
that's I think that's
uh,
something you get with writers is foresight.
okay. So yes,
I could be wrong.
I thought he was going to say right. That's more smarter than everybody else, but
Now, I mean, well,
you
well,
you would be biased
but
in that opinion. But all right. Um, but
but at
he
the
was
same
a lot more intelligent scholastically than probably Martin or Malcolm or even Edgar Evans. His friends.
yeah, he was just ahead of his time. He was progressive, and I think that's definitely something that I admire about him. His foresight, you know. Like one of the things that I guess I would want to work towards as well is being able to write things that remain relevant, and
Hmm.
that's a bit of a double-edged sword. I was reading this poem by Langston Hughes the other day. I think I
Hmm.
shared it as well on Facebook. And it's a poem that was written 85 years ago. And it's still relevant to the Black American experience. And it's like, it kind of sucks that
So,
the
so,
struggle is still real,
so
but
that's.
also
Mhm.
it's amazing that this poem could last 85 years.
Now, this is questions I was going to ask further down the line, but since you bring up that point about it still being relevant today now, um,
Hmm.
do you think the Black experience has evolved or has changed over the years? Because I mean, to me, I think we haven't moved anywhere. The probably goalpost probably moves a lot, but the Black experience is still the same now. Like Bob Marley songs still relevant today. Peter Tosh songs are still relevant today. Um, I always say there's nothing new I can write as a songwriter that will be different to what they sing if I'm trying to be revolutionary or if I'm trying to change the 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 status quo per se. Um, so do you think the Black experience has changed? And you're gone again.
Hey, you still hearing me?
I hear you now. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
So yeah, with the Black experience, I
No, wait.
it's kind of hard to say. I think yeah, we are still experiencing the same things, perhaps in a different context. So it's like a microaggression will be a microaggression. It's just you have the 1965 context and you have the 2015 context.
Mhm.
So it's
So
the
like me, I think one of our biggest issues or mistakes was, in a sense, um fighting for segregation. Um, I think that to me, my opinion, fighting to be to fighting against segregation in a sense, instead of like just packing ship and busting, saying
Sorry, could you repeat that?
no, I saying to me, my opinion, one of our biggest errors or mistakes in the struggle is fighting for a piece of the pie now. You
Mm-hmm.
know, fighting for a piece of a poison pie in a sense. It's
Yeah,
not, why are we fighting to be part of a system that doesn't want us, that kind of way. So
yeah.
do
I
you
I think
feel
like this is because the systems aren't made for us to prosper,
mm,
right? So they are made for other people to prosper on our backs. That's the setup. So it's this misnomer of individual success, and that's the thing that will always get us tied up. This thing of like, oh well, this is the first black to do this and the first black person to do that, and then
yeah, so yeah,
they'll be the first and the last, and everybody else.
so
Um,
I'm to Oprah and I'm to Jay-Z, that kind of way. So about Oprah, Oprah make it, so I'm to you, so you can't make it
yeah,
too, that
but
kind
it's
of way.
not. And then you have to think about like, okay, so Oprah quote unquote made it, but then she could still go into a store and be discriminated against and be refused service
Mm-hmm.
by people who have far less of her net worth.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. And it's like the for me, I'm in when I think about the struggle, I'm not looking for um validation from the system, as hard as it may be to try to build a career, because this is the system that we're using, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, yes, you'll be looking at like career milestones within the system, but also like you have to try to separate it in your head that this is not where the true validation lies.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think we agree on that concept. I
Yeah,
mean,
I think we agree on a lot.
we spoke about a lot about this before, so I mean, it's nothing new that we have conversated about. So you grew up in the States, or you grew up partly in Trinidad and partly in the States. Okay, you said primary school,
Partly,
and then you said middle school. So I'm trying to decipher.
yes, partly in, okay, so I was born in the States and then I came to Trinidad and then I went back to the States and then I
Mm-hmm.
came back to Trinidad. So I'm very accustomed to being mobile and moving around, traveling and stuff. Um, but I guess, what do they call your teens, your formative years? Your teens and your 20s
Yeah, your teens and your 20s, your secondary school life, you know,
and your college life?
your college life to be your formative years. Um,
Okay, well then, my formative years, yes, I was in the States.
all right. So what's the difference between where you've lived both places, so you can safely say what's the difference between Afro Caribbean culture and Afro American culture?
Um, ooh, that's a tough one. I want to say like, so do now with Afro Caribbean culture, I think one of the big things that is problematic for me is dropping out the Afro.
Mm-hmm.
So there's so many things that they always try to deny that sense of blackness because they think that they've transcended having to identify as black. It's almost like they pretend to be post-racial,
Mm-hmm.
and I think there's a heightened sense in the states of your blackness, probably because of the proximity they have to
Whiteness.
um a white, yeah, to whiteness, to a white majority, right? So you have to, there's no there's no point in which you could say well, I don't have to put the Afro in front of American, I don't have to put the black in front of American, really. Whereas in the Caribbean, I feel like, I think things have changed a little. But in general, people have this kind of fear of identifying with the African, right, in their Caribbean sense.
Okay, but do you think it's because of that whole Eric Williams forget Mother Africa, forget Mother India, you know, where Trinidad and Tobago, or is it
But can we blame? I feel like we put a lot of weight on Eric Williams' shoulders. Um,
you know what
and
I'm going to say next, right?
please don't.
All right.
We put a lot of weight on his shoulders, and is he were his sentiments just did they appear out of thin air, or were they a popular sentiment
Mm-hmm.
that there's
Okay.
no and this is the thing in Trinidad in particular, we have this thing where we say where some people like to say there's no Africa, there's no India, there's just Trini. But yet still, when you are referring to people, you don't hear people use the term African as much as they would use Indian
Indian or Chinese
or Chinese, or so everybody else has their identifiers
or
and
or Venice or
or anything, right?
yeah.
Right? But we just kind of it's the erasure for me that is problematic.
Okay. But even living between the both places, outside of the the political stuff and the social issue stuff, would you say you prefer living in Trinidad? Because I read the poem Immigrant Sings the Blues.
Aha.
So this idea that America is this utopia that that we all aspire to head to. Um, do you in Immigrant Says Sings the Blues, you pretty much summed up, okay, America's not as great as it used to be. At least that is what I think by reading the poem.
Yeah,
Um,
that is what it means, yes.
okay.
So for me, I think there's pros and cons to I try not to be you know, try not to be too strict in saying, well, yes, Trinidad is better or yes, the States is better. I think there are pros and cons to everywhere that you live. And is for me, choosing Trinidad is what worked for me,
Okay.
right? Um, it might not work for some other people. Um, I in some ways, living here has given me more of a sense of calm,
Mm-hmm.
um, which may be good or bad, because there's definitely like uh, a laid back vibe, right? You feel a lot more pressure in the States. You feel a lot more fear, right? Um, and I think here I don't have the same anxieties and the same fear that I would in the States. So for me, that was definitely a change.
Oh, cool.
And also like just having community, there's definitely a greater sense of community here, like having a network that might not just be family but also extends to your extended family, your neighbors, that
Okay.
camaraderie that you get from like
Uh,
just being able to get food or exchange vegetables, or just the it's just that sense of camaraderie. It's definitely different.
okay. So this year has been an election year for not just Trinidad but America as well. So we went through that whole political scene. How me and you think about that whole scene here. Um, Now, do you feel the same way about American politics, where it doesn't really matter, you know, who in power, that kind of thing? But seeing that America has, I don't want to call his name, but who are the helm now?
Hmm.
Do you think it's important in the same context to vote in America as it is in Trinidad?
No, voting is not for working class and even middle class people, and that's just the truth. In my my humble opinion,
Okay.
because your material existence doesn't change. Voting is not the only way that you can engage politically. That's one thing to think about as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
So even if I don't vote, I'm still a citizen. I'm still a taxpayer. I still make contributions, right? If I'm working, or even if I'm not, but whatever I'm doing, right? I'm still going to be a citizen of wherever it is I live, and still going to be making contributions to the society. And part of your political engagement is also getting the people who are in elective office and representing you to make the changes that you need them to. However, because the systems are corrupt and because the systems
Right. Digicel or Be Mobile or Flow. Your audio gone. Right, we're back again.
I mean,
Yeah, here, you know.
yeah, so because of the systems within which we operate, we have this thing where it feels like we have to take, um not even have to take, it's because the systems are corrupt and because they were built to serve a certain class of people. So the whole thing about voting is you're voting in a system that is, so you're buying into your own oppression with that vote, as far as
Mm-hmm.
I see. And if we really believe that the systems need to change, it's not going to change from participating in it. It's going to change from dismantling it.
Okay, because I was watching the another documentary on the congressman that died recently. Um,
Elijah Cummings.
not Elijah Cummings. It was, I think, Bill Clinton spoke at his funeral and said some off thing. I can't remember his name. James. Anyway, I forget his name, but he was one of those from Atlanta, I believe, and
Mm-hmm.
Texas. Anyway, somewhere down south, and they fought. He marched
Yeah.
with Martin Luther King, and they fought for the rights for blacks to have the right to vote, and even fought to have legislation or have a certain amendment back. And John Lewis, right? He even
Yeah, yeah,
fought
yeah.
for the right, certain voter rights recently, which was repealed. So with all that fight to be part again to forget black people to vote, saying now that that voting thing anyway making no sense in thing and the fight dog and the part thing, but we end up with Donald Trump in power. Um,
Yeah,
it's kind of.
but you ended up with Donald Trump in power, even with so the thing that people seem to forget as well with the whole Donald Trump being in power is that there were there was a lot of, number one, voter fraud committed by Trump supporters and also by the electoral college, the administrators themselves. So his election wasn't fair and square, uh, as people are saying, right?
Okay.
So that's the thing that we have to remember. The system is corrupt, and that's how you would get people like, well, I mean, it benefits. It's made for people like Trump.
Hmm.
Even with Obama, right? As much as people, you could say, went out and voted for him, you still have to look at what were, you know part of his legacy as a president is that he was known, in some cases, as the drone president, because he dropped more drones on American citizens than any other president in history.
Yeah, you're back. Just audio gone again. Try back the audio. Oh, audio muted. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, he dropped more drones on innocent civilians in the Middle East than George Bush did, and probably more than Trump. So it's like, what are we really voting for? Because we're continuing to buy into a corrupt system.
Mhm. Cool. So now that you get your Barack Obama fans, you know, 'cause, he's the most loved, and anti-Trump supporters um on your heels. Um, but so let me switch the topic from the
Yeah,
politics and because
yeah.
let's talk a bit about music now. Um, I know he's a
Ooh,
I know he's a fan of certain artists. I could name two from observation:
uh-huh.
Lizzo and Cardi B. Now, I'm not sure if you're a
I'm a
fan.
Cardi B fan.
I'm not sure if you're a fan of both ideologically or you like the music. You know, or you are you or
I
you are,
would like to categorically state that I am not a Cardi B fan.
mm, but you're a fan of Lizzo.
Yes.
Mm. Well, I probably read that wrong.
No, I actually I changed my mind about Cardi B. So
Oh, you changed your mind about Cardi B.
yes, changed
Mm.
my mind about
What
Cardi
happened?
B.
Is the fact that Biden called her, or you know some her political aspirations, or is it or,
I
or
just
you're not a fan of the term WAP?
no, I'm a fan of the term WAP. Cardi just, she just doesn't do it for me. And I also think that she's very much aware of her privileges and she uses them. She pretends like she doesn't use them for her gain, but she does. I think she's
Mm.
very aware of her privileges and uses them in a negative way.
And what privileges is that now?
Basically her light skin privilege is
Oh, okay. And so okay, I want to tread lightly with this topic because that was one of the next
Let's talk
questions.
about Lizzo. Talk about Lizzo.
But to me, Lizzo is also flaunts a certain privilege. You know, um,
What privilege is that?
um, I think her not just her expression of body positivity is in, um,
True.
and it's also a privilege to use the current
Current trend.
trend. Is it that because I always question why is it because the music is so great? Because I me personally, I don't think the music is great. Um, so I not studying I not studying like her size or anything like that. That's never mattered to me. So I just
Hmm.
basically focus on music now, and the music is now So she uses that. She even uses her privilege in a sense. I mean, it's kind of weird to call it a privilege, but it's a privilege nonetheless. Um,
Mm.
for her own gain. I mean, Grammys and nominations over people that I think deserve it better than her. Um,
Well, who would you say deserved it better than her?
no, I have to go through a list of the people that was nominated, but let's say her, for example, or because
Okay.
hers, to me,
Now, now this could be tricky, right? Because I feel like her has more of a niche in
okay.
some ways, right? I also feel like Lizzo has put in the work because the songs that she has that are popular now really like so she got popular in like 2019 and these are things that she'd been working on since like 2016.
All right.
and
But
before.
but when you're using work, when you're saying the words like work, but I mean, her has been around since she's a teenager. Like she's been 12 playing piano on late night shows. So I mean, and she plays guitar, she keys, she
Okay,
sings. I mean,
Lizzo
so
plays
when we
instrument as well, sir.
so,
She
so when
doesn't
we
just work.
so when we saying work, I mean, you can't compare the work between both of them. I mean, like that's really.
Me personally, I, I think Lizzo puts out good music. I
Well,
like it. I think she's able to find a balance, um, between thought provoking and also keeping it pop,
mhm,
right? Because that's what sells. And I get what you're saying about her using the body positivity as a gimmick because it is in right now,
mhm,
and also because people are more aware of being politically correct and not offending. So I definitely think that plays into it too. But I also feel like um I also feel like she didn't compromise because she's looked that way and been that way for years, and she's just kept going despite when it wasn't trendy, it wasn't in.
mhm. All right. But do you think women in general have a problem? Well, I think the women have a generally have a problem, in this
Let me
society where
hear
this
you.
no, they generally have a problem in this society where they have to go through all these hurdles now in sense of um trying to identify visually first, you know, or
Mm-hmm.
have to jump over the hurdle of their sexuality or how they dress. And women really don't have that issues. I could put on a t-shirt and there's no scene, but I see
Yeah.
your hair done and makeup and stuff. I don't have, I just jump out, you know I don't have on pants or kind of thing. It's not a issue, but I think women in general have more hurdles in the system to jump, even to reach to the point where they're accepted in a sense. They locally Destra, um, Destra don't have to try to go through more hurdles than, let's say, um,
Blacks.
blacks. You know, so Ben Benjai could whine on in a drawers on stage, and the moment Destra put on her
Yeah.
tongues is a scene.
Yeah. It's back
So
now.
women,
Yeah.
what do you think of
It's
like
a, it's a thing that we have to get rid of. I even think like if we're gonna bring this back to writing, um, this year I definitely found out a lot about um the how can I say about like sexual assault and abuse like within the poetry community. And I'm not just talking about like things in Trinidad, I'm talking about poets that I admire internationally
Mhm.
have been outed. And you know, you would think that there would be this safe space within the art world at times, but still, so even as a woman in the art world, you still have this because you think of for some reason we think of poetry spaces or literary spaces as progressive, but they're not always
No,
that progressive, right?
no, it's not.
And it's like it's just so funny to think that okay, you still have to deal with this even in a space that you thought would have been progressive.
Hmm. So he wasn't talking locally, which is, I mean, we have for the
No, I
backstage.
wasn't talking not here for the backs. I'm just talking in general that I've found out a lot this year. People names been popping up with rape and sexual assault accusations, and I'm just like, okay, it's just it's wild.
No, this wasn't one part of the topic to talk about, but in the sense of sexual assault and how men deal with women and how women deal with men. Because I don't think it's just one. I mean, it's more heavy handed on one side, but I mean, sexual assault and dealing with that kind of thing. much like the black experience, um, hasn't, well, it has changed a lot. But I mean, being outed now in 2019 and 20,000, is it because a more awareness, or people feel that it still have some, there's a developing safe space per se, or it's just, just a matter of time you get caught, it's just happenstance.
I feel like, yeah, there's, in a way, there's more awareness. I feel like also what's happening is that there's women, so women have changed their positions in some ways. So they feel, when you're more independent, you feel a little bit more empowered to speak up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because the sum of your existence isn't dependent on, let's say, being married or something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So as we have more independence, more space in society, we speak up a bit more. But I went to this thing in for International Women's Day earlier this year, and I think the thing that I heard the most coming out of that was the fact that, it's like the best quote for me is that you can have all the laws that you want, against domestic violence, against sexual assault, against all these things, but if people's attitudes and mindsets don't change, then there's not going to be much material change. So that's the thing as well when you think about it,
Mm.
because we still have, you know, you still have men. As much as we may have legislation, you still have to deal with people's actual thought
People's
processes.
mindsets, because
Yeah, people's
a lot of
mindsets.
people now turn turn their energy on hating. Now there's extremists in every
Mm-hmm.
every scheme. Now there's extremists, so people now kind of turn their focus on the extremists, like feminists come across word, or cancer culture come, come this
Right.
boogeyman, but in a sense that we have to unlearn a lot of stuff, you know
Yeah.
and there's, or like I was telling somebody the other day, or like when you get cut and it's healing, like the scab ugly now. There's no pretty scar, there's no scab that's, pretty, and that's what we're going through a lot now is the scab. We had to peel off a lot of that scab, and there's gonna be a lot of ugly things and a lot of anything of things that we're not comfortable with. So we have a problem with accountability, and that's all cancel culture is, accountability, and having to deal with
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, does
aspects of things that
cancel
we have to
culture even exist? Like, we
Mhm.
just want people to
tell us
acknowledge
what
that they were wrong.
just acknowledge that it was wrong. I mean, sometimes depending on the severity of the thing, you might face some time, like Cosby or whatever, but
Yeah.
I think we have to be comfortable with the uncomfortableness, if you understand what I'm saying. We have to be comfortable with the this period where
Yeah.
we kind of unlearning a lot of the old things that we've been taught as men and as women, because a women a lot of times kind of enable men in the bullshit, you know
Hmm.
um so yeah.
Very true.
No, this is another topic that we have spoken about privately. Like, you know, you laugh.
I just
I feel I'm going next. Um,
continue.
Monogamy, um,
Mm-hmm.
polygamy, and that kind of thing. That's kind of your general thoughts. I kind of have an idea where, I think we kind of have the same, kind of the same concept regards
Yeah.
to the system, that system. Because I mean, it's all systems, it's all different systems.
Yeah.
Whenever you check it out, and it's all kind of stem from the um white supremacist system. But yeah, so yeah, monogamy and polygamy and polymer, and a lot of it has been popular now, or made popular now recently. We've seen a lot of images of
Because men want to do it.
men want to have two women,
Yes.
But
essentially.
the the
That
the, the moment a woman says she was two man is a scene, um, we still.
um okay, if I kept on theme,
Mm,
right?
all right, she disappeared a little bit there. Um, I know going she get bump off. So yeah, um, essentially, oh, she's back.
I don't know why this keeps happening. This is crazy.
Yeah, we with.
Um,
I want to
yeah, if I
lost no.
kept on theme,
I want to.
I would recommend that people read Sex at Dawn.
Oh, okay.
Right? So Sex at Dawn, I can't remember the author's name right now. I have it somewhere in my house here. Um, is this book that basically breaks down breaks down the fact that human beings are not naturally monogamous. Right? So
Mm-hmm.
it goes into the science of it all. And it's a really good read if you just want to get an understanding of how this could work, right? Or why it's okay.
Mm-hmm. Again, a lot of things come popular, and you kind of try and understand why things pop up when they pop up. Is it because of pop culture in a sense, or Hollywood? Um,
Yeah, sometimes when things become too popular though, they just ruin it, you know. It's like, ugh, I don't like it anymore.
um. So if you would describe yourself like in one song, would what if you would say this song is Zara, what song is
Ah,
what song would that be?
oh my God.
No, tell me, buck if you
Knock if you buck.
knock if you buck. Is it knock if you buck?
Oh my God. No, knock if you buck is not, no. I um a song. I'm going to go with the thing that I've listened to most recently that I vibe with, which is Erica Badu On and On.
Mm. All right.
Because I was listening to some music yesterday and I've actually listened to Erica in a long time,
Mm.
and she popped up and it was like, yes, vibes. I remember my days.
All right. And if it was a plate of food, like if it was a meal, um,
But I am a meal.
we know this. We know this. But if it was a meal, what would it be? What was it like? What is your favorite? What describes you? What meal
Ooh.
describes you best? Kuku, kalalu, oil dong, pilau.
Well, as it say, oil down. Now, I'm a bit old and new, so
Mm,
I would be yes, breadfruit, right? But
mm,
not oil down. I would be a breadfruit pie.
mm. All right. I don't
Yeah,
think I
which
ever.
I actually made the other day.
I don't think I ever had breadfruit pie though.
Oh
I
my god.
I cannot do. I'm not a big fan of breadfruit. Like I don't eat oil
How are
dong.
we
I don't
friends?
I don't I know I don't eat oil dong, and I don't eat. Well, I probably only way I eat breadfruit is if it's fried, like chips. That's probably only way I've eaten breadfruit growing up. So I was never a fan of oil dog. I think my mom ever cook it because she know the whole household never wasn't fans. Um.
It is the fruit of life.
So, but
Ah,
I wouldn't to try a breadfruit pie though, because I think mashed it might be have a different. Um.
yeah, I matched it with some cheddar and mozzarella
Mm,
like on the top.
mm-hmm.
It
Nice.
was it was really good.
And if Zara was a book, like since you're a writer and so on.
If I was a book, I would definitely still be Rainy Season, which is the title that I have for my book that I haven't published yet.
And we have spoken about that a lot of times. When we get in that book, when we get in
We get to this book next year.
next year. So in
Yeah,
process,
next year. I'm putting it into the
okay.
ether.
Don't do like me, Don't be like a friend and say
Coming
like
whatever.
coming over. You want a book, we get something published. I mean, you have pieces. Yeah, I have pieces published
Yeah, I have pieces, but and I have some
in
things coming out.
publications.
I have some things coming out later this year too
Mm-hmm.
in journals. Actually, well, I have a piece coming out in a feminist journal as well, using that bad word, feminist.
Mm. Mm. So would you say you're a feminist? Would you say Zara Gordon is a feminist?
I think, um, well, okay, there's different strands of feminism, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
the first thing. So a lot of people, because the term has become mainstream now, they just say feminist, and then there's a certain connotation. But there are black feminists, there are womanists, and those are the two things that I identify with the most.
Okay.
So
Um,
yes, short, yes.
and you're an educator as well, right? You're a teacher. You teach um primary school or
Yes. I
secondary.
did. Well, I've taught all ages, but right now I am teaching primary school.
Mm-hmm. Now with regards to COVID and doing online school and everything, do you think we have to change the education paradigm in the sense of how we teach children and how we test them or test them in the same, there's this TED talk or animation that I've watched calling changing the education paradigm in the sense of how we teach different children different ways, and how we kind of just teach everybody the same kind of
Hmm.
way. What are your thoughts on like changing how we teach, and how even now in this how we have to do a lot of the schooling online and that kind of thing? How is best can we educate the public so everybody kind of on the same equal standing?
Yeah, well, we definitely have to change the metrics.
Right. So I don't want to pause in between. I didn't see any comments. Yeah.
Yeah, we definitely have to change the metrics, definitely. But I feel like we needed to change the metrics even before COVID.
Before COVID.
Yeah, before COVID, there were so many things within the education system that needed to be refocused and just like changed. So now we have the opportunity to make, bigger changes. I don't see them happening, to be honest. But
Do you think it's
I
gonna
just
happen if it happen, like, 'cause, this kind of pattern the states kind of thing in some aspects, or in even Britain, if it change elsewhere, you think we always kind of behind the scene instead of innovating in the
I don't know. I don't know that that might have. It's still up in the air whether that will actually have the influence that we want it to, or that it
Mhm.
should, right? Because it's like, I mean, even you posted about having to do certain things. Um, it was like during COVID, everybody was like, "Yeah, well, you have to do it online, and and you're gonna have to do X, Y, and Z." And then we loosened up some restrictions, and all of a sudden, institutions didn't have online options for customers anymore. And it was like, well, why can't I still have the online option? You should have had the online option before
Before.
COVID. Yeah, like I don't see why a pandemic had to force you to,
So
make a website or online payment system for your business. Like it's crazy.
yo, yo,
And so I
yo.
think there's this kind of way in Trinidad where it's like this purposeful like backwardness. I don't understand it.
I don't
So
think I wouldn't use the word backwardness, but I think we comfortable. We're very
okay,
comfortable. We're very
yeah, very
comfortable in
comfortable.
and sameness. We don't like change. We
But
don't like
then is it
innovation.
not like the change kind of backward,
Mm,
just a
Um,
little, or is backward just too harsh of a word?
backward probably going in reverse. Like I don't think we're going in reverse. I kind of stuck. We kind of stuck. I mean, it's like Jaja used to say, Jaja Onolu used to say,
Oh, Nilo.
yeah, we stuck in glue now. Like black people stuck in glue. And
Yeah,
that kind
it's
of we want to
yeah,
go, but we kind of
it it's not something's not it's not
but
all added.
hopefully with the new minister, uh, um, we get
Yes, right?
yeah,
Hopefully.
because we'll do it before. Yo,
Whew,
I mean,
pressure.
even to talk about sex ed in school is a scene.
That that was, I knew we were in problems when he came in because that was his first announcement. He's just been um appointed as Minister of Education, and the first thing he said was there's absolutely no sex ed in schools and we're bringing back religious education.
Education.
And it
Yeah.
was like, okay, like I remember that.
Now,
But yeah,
now
I
as
wish
a
that. Mm-hmm.
now that you said that religion in school and sex education, Trinidad and America. Now separation of church and state. Do you think
Mm-hmm.
it will be applicable here? The separation, because I went to RI and I'm no longer religious. Um, Separation of church and state. Do you think it's needed as well in that changing of the education paradigm?
Okay, so it's funny to me that people always kind of point to Eric Williams, but it's like the majority I don't think has really taken the time to deep dig deep into his like writings, because his vision, I don't even know if, well, I guess, yeah, his vision or his belief then was that there should be a separation. And if you look it up, you could find quotes from him where he said that the purpose of a religious school is to teach religion, which is fine. But then the purpose of a government school can't be to teach religion. And that's where the lines get blurry between, the government schools and the relationship that they have between government schools and religious education boards, right? And that was something that if his initial policy had been followed,
Mm-hmm.
we wouldn't have that commingling of religious schools and government money and schools, right? Um, I, at least in the states, it's like you have more of a choice,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, well, in some ways, I don't necessarily have a problem with religion being taught. When I was in high school, I was able to take an elective called comparative religions, but
Mm-hmm.
it was my choice, right? Now, the thing that I like about that and that I think would make sense in a Trinidad setting is that comparative religions was not a okay, we're going to teach you about Catholicism and that's it. It was
Mm-hmm.
really looking at the way religion works in the world and the different religions that exist, and so that you become more
Educated
exposed, yeah,
to different
educated. And to
concepts.
me that makes sense,
Mm-hmm.
as having religious education is something where you get to learn about, because we live in a plural society, and there's this so it's just the fact of, I don't have a problem with religious education in schools, but I think it should be more purposeful
Purposeful. Okay.
than just upholding, just
Because
yeah.
in essence, if everybody was kind of taught the same thing, not the same religion, but understand what Hinduism is, and not just when it's Diwali, is thing, but
Yeah,
we kind of demystify all of the stuff about even Orisha and African
mm-hmm.
spirituality and stuff like that. We kind of
Mm-hmm.
demystify this. That Uber is not
Yeah.
necessarily a, this evil thing, but if
Yeah.
everybody was kind of taught on the level playing for me, I mean, you can go to church on Sunday and do what you want to. Um,
Yeah. That's no
but
problem.
if you want to teach
But
everybody about Islam or Christianity or Orusha or spiritual Baptist, or because we live in a multicultural society, as they say.
yeah, so
So
it's
it
just like,
would have been
you know,
ideal
if it's
if
a
everybody kind of
government
learned the same
school,
thing.
it should
Yeah.
just be, it shouldn't just be a government school, but Christian, which
Hmm.
is what most of them are,
Most of
government
most of them
schools.
are.
Most of
Yeah.
them are government schools, but
We kind of
Christian.
we kind of assume that Trinidad is a Christian nation for some reason, but
Yeah, and there's so many people that occupy this space.
yeah. So I think that run the gambit of my questions. I mean, I had some more things, and I know we talk about a lot of stuff. Um, you know, personally, I don't know if you want to get into all the backs now, but you have any latest backs? So, I know it is hit my fun.
Me? Me? I,
um,
but me?
yeah,
Talking
no,
all
all right, all right,
that.
no, not you, not you, not you, not you,
Not me at
not me.
all.
Not I don't like to hear it neither. I mean, you know. So yeah, the piece that you wanted to.
Okay, let me get to my poem here, and let me see how we're doing this. I would just like to apologize for all the technical difficulties. I really don't know why the Lord was playing with me like this today.
Well, we always had I really kind of trying to get accustomed to this live scene because we always had the mercy of either the computer or we had the mercy of the internet gods, and I kind of want to get back to the live scene where we could go out in person and you know
Before I read this as well, ooh, let me just say that you've been doing an awesome job of creating content throughout this whole pandemic scene.
you find so. I
Yes.
find real I real kind of laid back, you know, I
I think the good thing is that you're actually doing it as
okay,
opposed to, you
not
know,
doing it. All
as
right.
opposed to not doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So there. All right. So we're gonna get into a poem.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Sex Ed for Little Girls. I
Mm.
actually think I've only read this publicly once. Um, and so this is going to be the second time that I've read it in a public forum.
Mm.
All right, so here we go. Sex Ed for Little Girls. My goddaughters were 4 and 5. Their mother gave birth to a baby boy a few days earlier, and I was helping out by entertaining and giving baths. It was their afternoon bath, the most important one. This was the bath 2 hours before bedtime. By 5 p.m., they had conquered 2 recess periods, the lunch break at school. They had run in mindless circles, dripped sweat onto their uniforms' white shirt collars, and created a brown residue for Granny to scrub off. They had lifted up the skirts of their maroon overalls countless times to wipe that same sweat off their soggy foreheads. Finally, at home, the girls played inside and outside, their tender souls scorched by hot pitch, their fingernails dirty, arms heavy with the weight of competition as each tried to show who had the most muscle by picking up Bruno the dog. They were weary from the burden of disobedience and fed up of hearing Granny say, "Put down the dog." At 5 p.m., they were called inside to wash away all evidence of these triumphs and tribulations. I was doing everything wrong, and they made sure I knew. There were supposed to be 2 buckets of water, not one. The panties were washed with blue soap before the bath, not after. Body wash was to be applied in a circular motion, not up and down. When their tiny brown bodies were lathered in bubbles, the 4-year-old stooped and began rubbing furiously between her legs. Not so hard. You don't want to lose that, I said. She looked up. I don't want to lose it. And then, you have one? Yes. Yours looks like this? Yes, but a little different. My mummy has one. Hers has hair on it. She gently touched her pelvic area with an index finger as if to point out each and every hair witnessed on her mother's vagina. Yours has hair too? Yes, that's what happens when you get big. She nodded. Not to be left out, the 5-year-old interjected. My vagina needs washing off. She put an emphasis on the word vagina.
Mm. So, sex education and sex ed and girls for little girls. Now we spoke about sex education earlier. Um,
Mm-hmm.
you think enough is being done, and why it is why inspired to write that piece.
Um, well, I write a lot from personal experience or just personal observation. So it's like when you read my work, it's just me observing the world or sharing experiences. And um, it was just for me in this moment where we're always afraid of talking about our body parts. You know, when you're telling children about themselves, you always want to give them a euphemism instead of actually saying penis or vagina.
Mm-hmm.
And it is just putting it out into the air and getting away from that fear of actually having these conversations with children that should be simple and straightforward.
Because as a father of a 12-year-old girl, um,
Yes.
you know, I understand the uncomfortableness of having to speak about sexuality or sex or body parts and that kind of thing. I was like, leave that to your mother, that kind of thing. Your mother could deal with that,
Yeah,
But
but even sometimes with mothers, it still gets,
mm, it
yeah.
should be normalized. It should be because I mean it's us. We don't hide the fact to talk about nose or ears and it's all
Hmm.
part of us. So
Hmm.
even the sexualization of breast, you know, when
Right.
when men have breasts too, that kind of way, or chest or whatever, or nipples, especially the
Yeah.
nipples, So I mean, yeah. So I get that. Um, I don't want piece of back in our question to ask you, but
I'm listening.
spoken word versus poetry, and
Oh God,
a lot of people, kind of or confuse the two. Um, you want to kind of expand on if there's a difference or if it's the same thing, or what's your thought?
um, spoken word is poetry. All poetry is meant to be read out loud. So when I'm writing, I'm thinking about the way it sounds.
Mm-hmm,
Most writers will tell you that they think about both, the way it is on the page, the way it looks, and the
mm-hmm,
way it sounds when you're reading it out loud. I
mm-hmm,
think spoken word has that distinction because many of the people who write for spoken word put that emphasis on the sound, the musicality, and not on what it looks like on the page or for
oh,
publication,
oh,
right?
okay, I
Right,
understand.
right. So that's one of the distinctions. I think there's also this idea for that spoken word is a lower art,
Mm-hmm,
and that is just within the academy, and that is because of its association with certain cultures, like with hip hop, for instance, right? So it is
so
seen as low. Yeah,
Def Jam poetry and that kind of thing. Okay.
yeah. So it's seen as a lower art. My um my thing is this. I just well, you and I have spoken about this.
Mm-hmm.
And my only thing is that I think because spoken word has become popular, um, it's gotten kind of watered down in some spaces.
Mm-hmm.
right? So, there would have been a time when you wouldn't question, um, there wouldn't, there are some people who, when they write or when they share things, I can tell that they read as well. And
Mm-hmm.
that's not across the board all the time.
Okay. I kind of get what you're
You
saying.
kind of get it's like I'm trying to answer diplomatically.
Yeah, I know. I know. I, I know. I know. So yeah, I mean, one's one focuses a lot on publication and reading and it being read, and one is performative art per se.
In some
So
ways,
it's
yeah.
not so it's not always to focus on how it's read or that kind of thing.
Yeah,
Um,
not always,
but we have.
because I I um I like short form poems,
Mhm,
right? So like for instance, if I write a haiku and it's 3 lines, I'm not really focusing on performing that on a stage because it's
mhm,
3 lines and I'm going to have to write a million and one of these 3 line poems to get um to have a 5 minute performance, right?
mhm,
Um, but if I'm putting a book together, like Sonia Sanchez has a book that is all haiku, whole book, about 120 pages. And that's something that could work, right?
mhm.
Uh, when you put it together like that. So I think that's one of the main differences. But I also think everybody should be reading, and that's where some people get caught up
Mhm.
because that's part of your craft as well is reading.
And to be honest, I am not a big reader. I have never been a big reader. I could count the amount of books that I've read. Um,
Uh-huh.
you know, I kind of I lost attention quickly reading. Like Sister Soldier books I've read.
Ooh,
Um,
love her. Yes.
I've read Midnight one, and I've read
The
um
coldest winter
Co-
ever.
Coldest Winter Ever, and
Yes.
I am presently trying to finish Things Fall Apart. Um,
Okay,
but
nice.
there's a lot of people like that in society, and they kind of feel shame to say I'm not a big reader
Yeah.
because it seems
No,
like
here's the thing, right? I'm not saying that's something that you should be doing.
Ooh, yeah, I seen you know, not hearing you. Yeah, mic is connected now.
Hearing me now?
Yeah. Mhm,
Yeah, I'm not like okay. There's a lot of you know, some people just don't like it, and
mhm,
it's cool. But if I'm going to make a comparison with you, like I could listen to your music and tell that you listen to other people's music, right?
mhm,
So I tell that you are paying attention to your craft, you're paying attention to what's going on in music, that you're building and bringing things together,
mhm,
right? Different influences, different styles. I can tell that you are a critical listener, right?
mhm,
And that's where the issue comes in for me. It's like there's this thing now where it's like it's cool to be like a spoken word artist, and it's not always the craft is not always at the front of your focus.
mhm. It's all about
So
the.
it's like I'm not here like, well, everybody should be reading and da 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 da. It's
Mhm.
more like
No, but
I
that was.
I appreciate people who focus on craft,
Mhm.
right?
But that was a
Definitely.
question I said besides the point of the spoken word thing. That was just my
Yeah.
perception on reading because a lot of people, myself included, when the topic of books come up, be like, we kind of, I don't really read that much. I mean, it's not that I can't read or and it's
Yeah.
and it's only of past 5 years somebody explained it properly, that it's just probably not reading the books that are for you,
Mm-hmm.
or reading the right books that suit your style, or it's kind of like music in a sense. So not
Yeah.
everybody likes R&B, but somebody, you might like soca, or you might like reggae.
Yeah.
So when I found that I could have read all of Sister Soldier books straight through, and because it related to me in some sense, the story of Midnight, or the way she cuss, or she way she uses um hip hop language in a sense now, that I was
Yeah.
attracted to it.
I
You know.
think, like, well, one of the things that well, I should say as well, one of the things that I do as an educator is making sure that I have Caribbean children's literature to use with students.
Mm-hmm.
And also making sure that I have an understanding of like the interests of the children that I work with,
Mm-hmm.
because it makes a big difference, right? If I have a child that likes to play soccer, um, I'm going to find books related to that to give them something that is interest based for them to read.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times you'd find that children lose interest in reading because they're not able to relate to anything that they're reading. So it just seems it's just out there in space, and there's no incentive for them to continue.
True. Because I fail to implement, or need to implement that own thing with my daughter. You
Yeah,
know.
and
You know.
yeah, definitely. You have
You
to
know.
find
So
that she can relate to.
I know we could talk for hours because we usually do. Um, but it's been an hour and a half, and we had like about 15 minutes worth of technical difficulties. So I don't want to stay too long on here. Um, I know how hard it is to engage. Um, you know, to keep me engaged, number one. So I don't want nobody yawning all day, and
Yeah,
having our
yeah,
private conversation in public. So
yeah.
all in all, to say, thanks for coming. Thanks for being a part of this, my second episode. I think once I get technical problems out of the way, um, I would like this to continue at least. Um,
Yes, I definitely think you should continue. I enjoyed last week with Annalie. It was last
mhm.
week.
Yeah, last week.
So I actually checked out some of her music as well.
Hmm.
She's amazing.
Very.
Um, very much so. So yeah, I definitely think you should keep this up so that
Yeah.
we could just keep these conversations
And I think,
open, lines
and I,
open.
and I didn't like study. Well, I mean, when I talked to you about coming on, I didn't really study that this week was book slit and that kind of thing. So I don't know if you read anywhere or read anything this week for.
Mm, actually, no, I didn't. Not
I
this
look,
year.
well, look at that. Look at that. You read
So
something today. That's what
this
happens.
is like Boca's Fringe.
Bookers French, the French, you know. But yeah, thanks for coming, and I think you're a brilliant writer. Because I read a
Thank
couple
you.
of your haikus yesterday, and I like your haiku writing. You know, um,
That's one of my favorite forms.
with forms of writing.
Yeah.
So, and I love immigrant sings the blues. Um, so keep up the good work, and I want to see that book
Yes, 2021.
2021. I want to see. But what the book about? Family. I know you write a lot about your grandmother and that kind of thing.
Yeah, so rainy season rainy season is the story of the women in my family. So it's a generational tale.
Okay, cool,
Yeah.
nice. So again, thanks for coming.
And thank
Enjoy
you
the
for
season.
having me.
Survive the COVID. We want to see you next year. So wear your mask. Social distance. Don't go out too
Yeah.
much. And a private zest. And go to my private zest. Um, see, I want
Oh,
to thank. I want to thank those that tuned in and commented and watched and shared likes, that kind of thing. So talk the things them, and next week we're gonna have Aidan Hagley, another point man. you know
okay.
Another
I'm not from Point, by the way. I'm from
oh
Labre.
Labre, and he's from just before I think Labre, so down south. Another southern person. We are having Aidan on, so I want everybody to tune in next week. While we talk the things them because the things and them had to talk. And these are a lot of the private conversations. I was thought that a lot of the private conversations that we have, whether we just finish perform or private, and a lot of these things need to make public because a lot of people don't know these stories. So
Hmm.
salutations and good evening.
Peace and
Peace and
blessings.
love. All right, bye.
Bye.
So yeah, it is I, and thank you all for coming and tune in next week while we talk the things done with Aidan Hagley. Bye. Love y'all.